Welcome to the Brett Davis Podcast.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's been a couple weeks. Good to see everybody. Well, hopefully you can see me. Anyway, we're here with the CEO, Eric Ranks of 22 Salute, and we're going to talk more about his amazing company and his support and passion for helping the military. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic. It's absolutely an honor to be here with you today, Brett.
Well, it's an honor to all this came together pretty quick, and I've been hearing about you for a while from our mutual friend, who's always constantly marketing and always out there.
Absolutely.
So, tell me how this company started. First of all, thank you. You were in the service, of course, right?
No, actually, I am a military dependent. So my dad served in the Army during Vietnam and then transferred to the Air Force after Vietnam. So I grew up as a Air Force dependent my whole life.
Well, thank you for what you're doing for the military. And as I'm also myself a huge supporter of the military, and I never served, but my grandparents, my grandfathers were both in the service, and I love our service people for everything they do. So thank you for your support for what you're doing.
Absolutely. Those feelings are absolutely mutual.
Thank you. So tell us how this whole started.
Yeah. So, let me kind of talk to you about kind of how 22 Salute started, but let's fast forward. I mean, let's rewind a little farther, even before the Veterans Connection, which we'll touch on, which is why is my passion around veteran and first responder mental health and suicide prevention. So let's start there. And so I grew up, as I just mentioned, as an Air Force dependent, and I grew up actually with a lot of childhood and current health issues my whole life, which is actually why I didn't personally serve. A big portion of it is, I wouldn't have been eligible with my health that I had. In fact, as a kid, my dream job was to be, an Air Force pilot. But two things: one, my health, and two, my dad kept saying, "Hey, you wear glasses at the time. You can't do that as a pilot." I think you probably could now because they do LASIK and stuff. But anyway,
Well,
so at 5 years old, I was diagnosed with leukemia. So I started a health journey, clear back, at 5 years old, and was airvac'd from Loring Air Force Base to Bethesda Naval Hospital in Washington D.C. and went through some cancer stuff through there. And as I continued to get older, I had other major health challenges. And as soon as 2019, I almost died of a ruptured esophagus. 2015, internal bleeding that took hospitals over 3 weeks to stop. It's just been a lifelong, battle of health. And, that health journey really helped me understand like physical and mental pain. So I'm not going to personally say I understand the same PTSD and challenges like a veteran or somebody who's a first responder who sees things on a daily basis, what they're going through, but I do understand physical and mental pain. And in fact, to the point where there was periods in my life where I was actually even suicidal because of it. And so that kind of really drove me to, and a combination of that, which I didn't mention, is my dad actually was a clinical and neurological psychologist. So in the military, he focused, his career on helping military veterans with things like mental health and suicide prevention, things like as well. So I grew up my whole life as that being part of the day-to-day of my life. And so in 2012, a little before that is what started it, but in 2012, I founded the Veterans Connection. And that was kind of created by two things. The first one is I had a friend who was quite a bit older than me who served in Vietnam. And he had Agent Orange issues, which his legs would constantly split open all the time. He'd have to go have surgeries and things like that. And even clear back in 2012, the VA did not cover anything to do with Agent Orange. So all those medical treatments and stuff, the VA was not covering, even though Vietnam was years before that. They do finally now, but they didn't at the time. And I also had some employees that worked for me who came back from Iraq and Afghanistan with super bad PTSD issues. And with me understanding my own personal physical and mental things I was going through, and then watching and seeing what these people were going through, it really drove me to want to make a difference. And so I left corporate America and started the Veterans Connection, a nonprofit, really focused on helping these people, these heroes that have given back to, done so much for every one of us on our daily life. And so that's kind of how that journey was created. And then if we, fast forward several years, 10 years plus, 22 Salute was created because as the economy changes, donations to nonprofits go up and down. And I really, out of necessity, wanted to ensure I could know month to month how much impact I could make versus donations going up and down and trying to, help as many people each month. I wanted to get a more consistent basis of how many people we could help. So that's what led me to create 22 Salute Spirits and Coffee, which, it was created actually out of a combination of that need, as well as I'm part of some veteran masterminds, and I had some veterans come to me with some ideas, both on the spirit side and the coffee side, and so one of our core missions of 22 Salute is to use veteran companies, and so our vodka is made in a veteran and woman-owned distillery in Maryland. Our coffee is smoked by a veteran in Texas, and so that's one of our ways we give back is we use veteran-owned companies. So every time we purchase product, money goes right into their community. The second way we give back is we donate a portion of the proceeds right to the nonprofit, which is, like I said, why it was founded in the first place. Third, another way we give back is this is kind of a unique thing. I wouldn't say this is, well, another way we give back, I'll say this first. Another way we give back is we also donate to other veteran organizations out there. And so in the last 7 to 8 years that 22 Salute's been around, months that 22 Salute has been around, we have sponsored probably 8 to 9 different golf tournaments and other veteran events in a combination of Las Vegas and also in Utah and areas like that. And then on top of that, our bottle is super unique, which I feel like I'm talking a lot, but our bottle is super unique. There's two things. One way to kind of reduce suicide is people just need to reach out to each other. Like most people are in mental health issues are suffering in silence. And I think the general population understands this even more than it did before because of COVID when people are isolated. Mm-hmm. But most people think someone's doing well and they're here today, and then all of a sudden you're surprised they're gone tomorrow. And you're like, I thought that person was doing well. And it's literally just a matter of us reaching out and saying, hey, how are you doing? You don't need to know what they're going through. Everybody has some kind of thing they're dealing with in their life. And you don't have to know what that is, but as long as somebody knows that somebody cares about them, that makes a big difference. So we trademarked Salute shots. So our bottle on our vodka, for example, is a 1 liter bottle. And most places, people are buying a 750 milliliter bottle. We chose a 1 liter bottle because there's 22 shots in a 1 liter bottle. And so we trademark those as Salute shots and say, hey, reach out to 22 friends and family and connect, build that community. So that way, if you're reaching out, you can touch somebody who may be suffering in something. So it doesn't have to be a veteran or a first responder. Mental health is an endemic across our whole community. So it's not just those.
We had one of the biggest homeless shelters in San Diego here a couple of days ago, and one thing that came out of that discussion was that a majority of the people that are on the streets are former military. Mm-hmm. It really breaks my heart because, our government should be doing what they can to help them.
Yeah, you're in an area that it's really high.
Extremely. And, they've given their service and their time to our country, and whether they want to be helped or not, if they really needed the help and they're not mentally able to take care of themselves, I think the government needs to step in. some people disagree with that, but I think that there's just, there comes a point where people can't feed themselves, or they're becoming ill, or they're constantly just seem like they're gone somewhere. They need to be helped. It's just the right
Absolutely.
thing to do, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So that touches on. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was getting a note here, a question. So when you first got into this and you decided, what was it? Was it your memory of your father that was kind of the reason you launched what you did, with the memories of what maybe he went through, things that you remember from your dad? Was that kind of the catalyst?
So the catalyst for the Veterans Connection, it's actually kind of funny. So one thing, so I am a published author. So there's this book, Bound to Success,
It's quite a
you
book.
can pick up on Amazon. Yeah. And
Hold it up one more time. Hold it up one more time.
In the chapter, oops, yeah, there we go. I gotta deal with the lighting.
Very nice.
Is exactly what you just said. So so the title, if you pull up the first chapter, is Pain as the Catalyst. And so what that's implying is, like, my own, it's a combination of, like you said, like my father and growing up with that, but really what drove it is the pain and suffering that I went through on my health journeys, and understanding what other people are going through. So my physical pain was kind of the catalyst to say, hey, like, I've almost died a couple of times. I'm still here. Obviously, there's a higher purpose for me. Whatever people believe in a higher being, I firmly believe, and there's a higher purpose. For me, I believe my purpose was making a difference in our veteran and first responder lives. And so that was what drove me. That was the catalyst, was the personal pain and mental health that I went through, and seeing these people around me with Agent Orange issues and PTSD and things like that, and not getting their help. So that was really the catalyst that drove that.
So we do in San Diego, of course, San Diego is a huge military town.
Absolutely.
Southern California is pretty much, we reach people all over with our show, but this is where our headquarters are at. Every Thanksgiving, we, the mayor of National City, Ron Morrison, and Josie Flores Clark, who's his assistant, usually raise about 1,000 turkeys from business people around. We found that a lot of the individuals that are getting those meals are military, and they don't have enough money to even afford Thanksgiving. And some people say that, well, that's not true. Well, it is true, because I've witnessed it. I've seen it. So I don't understand that. Can you explain that, maybe, why that's going on?
Yeah, there's a combination of things depending on what you're looking at. One, we're just coming out of a generation of people who lived through 20 plus years of, us having people deployed in Afghanistan and Iraq and places like that. So part of it, I'll use that part of it, and then I'll go current. So if you look at that time frame, when somebody's deployed, they get paid hazard pay for being deployed overseas, and they also they're not taxed on the money they earn while they're deployed. So one area that you see veterans with, the financial struggles, is they're making a lot more money while they're deployed, and they come home and they start getting taxed. They're no longer getting the hazard pay and
really,
things like that. Yeah, and so their income drops dramatically. And so there's a lot of veterans who, like, their bills and stuff with their families and things like at home, they're based on what they're coming in at that time, and then it drops, and then they get themselves in financial trouble. So I
don't think I've ever heard this before. Sarah, have you ever heard that before? So you're saying when they're off the war, they're not getting taxed. When they come back to the United States, back home, they start getting fully taxed.
Correct.
Is that everybody? Every branch?
And they get hazard pay while they're over there as well.
So the hazard pay makes a difference too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, because it's additional income. So it's like somebody who has a job, just got let go, sure, and now their income drops. So it's a double whammy. the hazard pay goes away, and they start getting taxed on their income.
So tell me how your company works and how it gives back and how it helps, other than some of the events and things that you talked about, like golf tournaments and things
Yeah.
like that. What else? Give me an example of a couple stories of how 22 Salute Spirits and Coffee has helped.
Yeah. So on the help side, let's talk more about the veteran connection, because that's where the money's going to actually go make the impact. And so the Veterans Connection, we have a 4-phase system. So there's a lot of amazing nonprofits out there, but the different nonprofits out there generally will focus on one area of veteran mental health, where we take a whole holistic approach to veteran mental health and first responders. We actually added first responders later, but it started as just a veteran organization.
Cops and firefighters.
Cops and firefighters. Yep. And
lifeguards, people like that, like ambulance drivers. I was going to say ambulance chasers, but that's attorneys.
EMTs, yes. Not lifeguards, but we actually so something very unique and interesting that I didn't know till about, I don't know, a year or two ago, is so our organization goes out of our way to help people that have served our country. And so I don't generally, it's veteran and first responders, but I actually had somebody who came to me from the CIA and said, wow. Hey, I served this time with the military over in Iraq and Afghanistan. I was part of some pretty intense things over there. And this person was struggling really bad with PTSD and was wanting to get a service dog. And there was no organizations that would help them. They couldn't find any organizations that supported the CIA, which I wasn't even aware of that. Like, that wasn't even my radar to think CIA. And I was like, wait a second. I mean, you've been over there serving with our people, like, you still serve. So we actually got this person a service dog.
Unbelievable.
So even if somebody doesn't necessarily fall under a veteran or first responder, like, if they've served us, we're going to find a way to help them. So those four phases. The first one is connection. We have different programs to help people rebuild the brotherhood, sisterhood bond, help people not self-isolate because they feel like people don't understand what they're going through.
Sure.
So
it's understandable why they're doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that's our first pillar. The second one is empower. So that goes, part of it is what you mentioned was homelessness. Our empower is, how do we make sure that they have their food, housing, childcare, veteran benefits. Now this is probably a shocker to some people, but people think, oh, someone served, they've got access to all these benefits. A lot of veterans actually have to hire attorneys to get access to the benefits.
I've been hearing stories like that recently. So there's a website that's on there that people can order products and reach out to support what you're doing, correct? Is it on there, Sarah?
Yep, 22salute.com. It's actually scrolling right now as we speak.
And your book, people can purchase that on Amazon,
and they can also donate if they want to donate to a nonprofit to the veteransconnection.org. So those are.
Do we have a video that we can put up?
Yeah, let me talk about the other two pillars, and then we'll play that video.
Okay, go ahead.
So when you solve the first two phases, the connection and power, you can get somebody out of fight or flight mode. So you can't help someone start healing if they're always in fight or flight mode, figuring out how they're going to eat, where they're going to live, things like that. They're not going to go through that healing journey. So once we solve those two, our third pillar is align. So that's your alternative mental health solutions. So the VA is really good at counseling, pharmaceutical, drugs, but we try to take the alternative, like PTSD service dogs, equine therapy, EMDR, yoga, tapping, things like that.
Wow.
Connection, I didn't mention, but we're about to launch a really powerful app that vets can connect with each other through the app, as well as it has some mental health solutions built into the app, like if they're going through something at that moment, so we can stabilize them and then help them. And then the final phase is Thrive, which is veterans giving back to other veterans. It's also things like helping them pay off their mortgage sooner, going through credit repair, things like that. So we really take a whole holistic approach. But yeah, I would love if we could play the Veteran Connection video, and that will actually go through 3 of our initiatives that we're really focused on fundraising for 2023.
Awesome. Thank you again for what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for
Very,
sharing that.
very inspiring and very touching. Are you a 501c3 as well?
Yep, we are a 501c3. Yep, we became a 501c3 in April of 2012.
Okay. So the whole company is pretty much a charitable
The Veterans
organization.
Connection is, and then 22 Salute is a social enterprise. So it's written into our charters that a percentage of, it's a for-profit company, but as a social enterprise, it's written in our charters that a percentage of money has to go into charity work. So if we sold 22 Salute at a later point, whoever bought it would have to continue donating to causes to help our veterans and first responders, because it's part of the actual charter of the organization.
So what would you say to any veteran out there right now that maybe is catching this and maybe he's challenged? I mean, is there something that maybe you comes to mind that you'd want to say?
I would say, one, you're cared for, and we appreciate what you've done. If you're in need at this moment, like if it's immediate, like if you're in the suicide state, please reach out to the crisis lines. You can connect to the crisis lines through our website or 22 Salute or the Veterans Connection. Right on the bottom, if you pull it up on your mobile app, you can click one button and it will dial the crisis line. You can click another button if you want to text. It'll automatically pre-populate your text right in. So if you're in immediate need, please reach out. If you're in that stage, if you're not in a suicidal stage, but you need some help that would fall under one of those pillars, reach out to us at the Veterans Connection. Like, we want to support and help you. You guys have done so much for us, both veterans and first responders, on a daily basis, and we're here and enjoying our freedom and an amazing country because of you guys. A lot of people will complain and say our country has this problem and that problem, but those people haven't gone and spent a lot of time in other countries and realized how blessed we really are. No country's perfect, but we're blessed because of you. So thank you.
Well, thank you for being on the show, and let's definitely stay in touch. Oh, we have one more video?
Yeah, can I share real quick some things that make our products on 22 Salute unique, and then play that video real fast?
Sure.
So I mentioned the 1 liter bottle. The second,
beautiful bottle.
Thank you very much. The second thing is it's filtered 22 times. So there's an average of 22 suicides a day in the veteran community, which is one is too many.
Right.
The number is actually, so the Department of Defense will talk about the 22. The actual number they're saying is actually between 40 to 60. But the Department of Defense talks about 22, so we stuck with that. We talked about the salute shots. But anyways, the 22, we filter 22 times. So That makes this the smoothest vodka on the market, and it's a double gold winning vodka. We also clearly, if someone walks like in the veteran community, saw this on a grocery store shelf, they would know what that 22 meant. The back, we tell a very clear story of what's going on with the veteran and first responder suicide rates. We use this also as a last resort. So if somebody is using alcohol as a coping mechanism, which that does happen, we want them to see our bottle as a last step. Someone didn't reach out to help them. And if they're in that stage of mental health crisis where suicide could be a problem, I'm hoping when they see this on a grocery store shelf or a bar and they're using it as a coping mechanism, that it will trigger them to stop that action. Don't buy our bottle or anybody else's. Like, we purposely designed it in a way to hope that we can be a last resort, because somebody didn't reach out to help them. And then our coffee is super unique because we smoke it with a Texas mesquite wood while it's being roasted. So it's a different flavor than all the other coffees on the market.
For some reason, when you said that, it sounded like barbecue. I was getting hungry.
So yes, I would love you to share the 22 Salute video real quick. And I
Yeah.
appreciate you allowing me to go a little over.
No, it's okay. This is important. I may call you, and I want you to call me and stay in touch to let me know how we can help. And I may let you know when we have that Thanksgiving event also in San Diego.
That'd be fantastic.
Thanks. Impressive. You're everywhere.
Much for sharing.
No, I appreciate what you're doing. Thank you so much for taking time to share your story and about all the great things you're doing with the military and first responders. I mean, we're really that's kind of what we are really passionate about, also, and we always have been. So I appreciate you coming on. And if you need something or have some ideas of things you want to do, let us know.
Yeah, I'd love to collaborate, and check out on Amazon, Boundless Success, with Eric Ranks. But yeah, I'd love to collaborate. And yeah, if there's ways we can also help with that event for Thanksgiving, let us know. Like, we're here to support.
Well, if you come down to San Diego, you can crash at our place. We'll make sure you're taken care of. So
Love it. Thank you.
you take care, man.
You too. Thanks again for having me on.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you do. And I want to thank all my sponsors, all listed there below, for their support and belief in the show. They're all great people. We just don't want their money, which money never hurts. But the thing that I like about our sponsors is we want to be sure that we find the right partners, because we also want to highlight what they're doing. And I got to tell you, all of them, Sarah will agree with me, all of them are community people that really care a lot. And those are the things that we look for. Anybody can get a check, but these people really do care about the community. So to all of you out there that's listed, thank you for being supportive of the show. There's so many, I can't even mention the names. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Have a good evening, and remember, be nice to each other and take care.